Hello, welcome to my December wrap-up where I tell you about all my favorite things of this month. I will timestamp down below so you can skip to the bits that you want to see. At the end of the video is where I give my in-depth review of all of the new tarot and oracle decks I purchased this month. So starting with a life wrap-up, I thought December would be easier because we had all been sick basically the entire month of February. But I was mistaken, I was sorely mistaken. I ended up spending Christmas Eve in the emergency room with my daughter who was having severe asthma and the Ventolin wasn't working. Luckily, she's fine. That's all that matters. And it's not how I wanted to spend my Christmas Eve, but I'm just glad my daughter came home with me and we managed to salvage Christmas Eve that we returned at like 2 a.m. It just always reminds you that the most important thing is the health and well-being of yourself and everyone you love. Everything else and all the other stresses feel small when compared to a health crisis. Besides that, I had a very busy festive season, numerous holiday events, lots of baking, some amazing baking, but those recipes are going to be going into January's vlogs because I filmed the December Craft Cafe wrap up before Christmas. So in regards to my channels, I started a new book only channel. I decided just to take all of my, well, not all of my, some of my book reviews over to there. So it's Star-Kissed Stories. I just wanted to have it separate. Books are my greatest passion and I want to sort of spend some more time doing that down the road. With this channel, it's still going to be, tarot and oracle decks and cooking and crocheting and gardening and cats and all that sort of thing. All my other life interests and hobbies are going to remain here. I did go a bit nuts this year making content. I was just rapid firing everything out. I think I made like 260 videos and it's too much. It is too much. You don't say. I am feeling a little burnt out. The same thing with reading books. I read an enormous amount of books. I think it was over 400 books this year. And this was the year of insane consumption for me and creativity and burning that fire. And I'm very close to being burnt out. So going forward from February on, because I've already queued up some videos in January, I'm going to be making less, but I'm going to be more intentional in what I make and spending my time on it rather than just rushing through, because that's the biggest thing of this year that I just was constantly onto the next. I was just go. And my cards have told me too that next year needs to be one more of rest and relaxation and more emphasis on my, spiritual practices. And basically I'm going into hermit mode and, Four of Swords. So I am in that way too. Like I said, intention is my word of the year, making everything with intention, my thoughts, words, behaviors, all with intention. So that is my life wrap up. Now we're going on to my favorite things. So we'll start with my favorite film. I don't watch many films, as you know, but the best film that I watched this month was Amsterdam. So this was really unexpected. It had a stellar cast. Every time a new character came in, you're like, is that person? So it's kind of like that film, but everyone acted impeccably. Christian Bale is just always he's just top shelf. And I liked the cinematography and the music and the story and everything. It was just a fun time and I really enjoyed it. My favorite TV show this month, no surprise, it's Willow. I love this show. So I loved the film as a kid growing up with it, and I love the show. You're always a bit skeptical whenever a show is launched of a beloved film. You're like, they're just trying to milk that cash cow. But they did such a great job. I love the cast. My favorite cast member is Borman. Borman is the show for me. I just find him hilarious. I love his presence. I love his dialogue. Borman to the end. It's just a really fun show and I'm excited to continue it. The thing that drives me nuts though with Disney is they do one episode a week and I am a binger. A lot of the time I have my children on that day, so I don't get to watch it until Sunday when they go to their dad's, and it drives me nuts. Or sometimes I forget about it. I'll actually forget to watch because it just slips my mind. I'm not a big TV watcher. I don't just go and flick on the TV and I read or I'll go on YouTube. So I just wish that they didn't do that, but that's the way Disney likes to play it. My favorite book of this year was League of Gentlewomen Witches by India Holton. This is a second in a series and it stole my heart. I had cheeks so sore from all of the grinning, all of the chuckling, all of the sighing. It was such a sweet, funny tale. There was romance, there were hijinks and pirates and magic houses, and I just had a freaking blast, let me tell you. So cannot recommend this book highly enough if you want a fun time with some light-hearted adventure. And now we're on to my favorite craft projects, and my favorite craft item that I did, hey Sylvie, is this bag. This is the bag I made. It's with Westloft Greens Yard. I think it's called F is for Faraz. And the reason that I really love it to bits and pieces is because it matches the deck so much. So this is the deck, the Herbal Astrology deck. I just feel like I got all the colors that are on the deck in the bag. And that just makes me so happy because I just used what was in my collection rather than buying a new yarn, because that's one aim I have for the new year, is to use up all the yarn I currently have. My favorite yarn that I worked with this year was a cotton, and I used it to make this little top right here. So this yarn is by Threaded Embrace, and it's in Rosy Maple, and I am just obsessed with the colors. I think they're gorge. I think it worked out really, really well. I don't love the top though, but I love the yarn. So that was my favorite yarn of this month. My favorite recipe was the nut buttercup tart. So it was meant to be hazelnut buttercup tart, and I'll put a picture here of the original recipe because it's much prettier than my mess, but it was so moreish and delicious, and you just couldn't help yourself but to go back for more and more and more. It was really addictive, really rich. I probably wouldn't recommend it to serve other people. It's not like the best for serving. I wouldn't bring it anywhere, but I would make it for yourself when you want like the most decadent nut butter cup chocolates ever. And on to my favorite decks of this month. So I always pick two, normally one tarot, one oracle, but the only tarot deck I got this month was Lily White. I don't love it, so I'm not going to choose it. So first we're going to go with Witch Cats. So I love this deck. This was a Kickstarter deck. It was from a creator that I've seen around for ages, and I just love their stuff. Like, so the artwork, I got this purely for the artwork. I didn't even care about the substance of the deck. I just wanted to gaze upon all the pretty kitties, and it's so sweet. And I love just every day when I feel like a little gentle message from a spirit witch cat, I go to my deck, and oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorites. I actually have a blown up picture of it in a frame. But do I have it on my desk anymore? No, my youngest daughter stole it, but that's okay. I let her. So it's in her room on her bedside table, little cutie. And the next deck that I would pick is the Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle by Terry Floss. Now, I had been coveting this deck for so long. I'd seen it on everyone's channels, but it was a indie deck, and I couldn't, I think it was US Games had it, but they weren't shipping to Australia. So I just could not find it anywhere. And then I saw that they were going mass market. So I was like, wait, I'll just, wait for that. And then they did. Now I've got my hands on it, and it reads so well. I love the artwork, and I've had an absolute ball with it. It's a fantastic deck. And for one of my other favorite purchases is my beautiful plant Persephone, which is a spider wart plant. I also got the pot, but it's not like a particularly nice pot. I just wanted it to match the color aesthetic that I'm going for with my little sort of caramel orangey tones. But yes, this plant, she is gorge, perfection. I thought I'd just update you on my daughter's orchid that I rescued. She's already started blooming again. I'm so pleased. I decided to name her Chloe because my daughter now wants a colored orchid like her sister. Oh, and that's my childhood teddy bear, Woody. She's been with me my entire life. We've seen some shit, haven't we, Woody? So those are some of the favorite things this month. I'll show you my purchases and some other things in the video next that I didn't want to be holding up to the camera. If anyone's got any requests of videos they'd like to see me make this year, please feel free to comment below. I'm always open for suggestions, but without much further ado, let's continue. Hello, my pretties. Let's have a look at the pretty purchases I made this month. So I'll start first with this rose quartz ring. I got it off Etsy and I'm pretty pleased with it. It's super cute. I like it. And then we'll go on to some of the crockery that I have received. So this is made by Churchill. It reminds me of a robin's egg, and that's why I got it. I love the baby blue bird eggs that are speckled that you sometimes see in nests, and it reminds me of my childhood. I normally use very small cups like these to drink my magnesium at night, because for tea I need giant mugs. I also got this Japanese crockery. This is a Japanese drinking cup, and I love the weight of it. I love that it's made from the earth, and yeah, I thought it was super cute to try out. And then I got this in an Owl Crate box. It's a Lord of the Rings bowl. No, I love Lord of the Rings, so I kept it and I use it for my nuts. I like to put my nuts in there. Got some more Japanese crockery. This is a cat bowl. My kids and I love cats. I'm going to obviously catify my whole house. Everything's cats, 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 cats. Speaking of cats, more cats. So another bowl, and we all fight over this one because it's so adorable and we all want to use it. And I also got this plate with this little kitty who's got a heart on him. So I like whimsical, childish housewares. It just makes me happy, and I like not to take things too seriously. This is a bee mug. So like I said, I like my mugs quite big because I like to drink a lot of tea or a lot of matcha or whatever it is. This one's also got like little speckles through the honeycomb print, and inside it's the golden honeycomb. And I got this off Etsy as well. Next up, the last of the crockery is this cup and saucer from Sharon McLeod. Love the mushrooms on it, man. It's so cool. So this one is the Magic Garden one. They're all called different stuff, and it's supposed to be a divination cup. I don't do the divination in the tea leaves. Oh, I just love the mushrooms. I love mushrooms. Speaking of mushrooms, I am planning on doing a video in January about my experience using psilocybin mushrooms and healing my anxiety and depression. Okay, so next up we have the Carolyn Miss Archetype cards. Get them out. So these are glossy. They come with some cards that you can do your own attributes for. These are the backs. And yeah, so I saw these online for ages and I thought, give them a go. Like, let's do some work with archetypes. And whilst in the beginning it was fun, I will admit, it was good to see sort of what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. But then it got old really quick and I just didn't feel the need to use it. And I feel like this is one of those, because it's not really divinatory, it's more working with like the psyche. And I just don't see myself using it very often. Like, now that I've worked through sort of my 12 archetypes, I just don't think I'm going to turn to it again. Like, maybe there might be some times when I'm like, okay, what shadow should I be, aware of right now that I might need to sort of transform and work through. But I can do that sort of work anyway with my other cards. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of how they look. I don't think they're that attractive. The guidebook isn't like some amazing, super insightful, in-depth book either. Like, this is pretty much the gist of what it is. So I just don't think I'm going to keep this at all. Like, I'm like almost 100% certain I'm going to be passing this on. I just feel like this was for a time deck for a certain, work, and then it's done its job, and now it's time to find somebody else so they can work through all of their archetypes and light and shadow aspects. But for me, yeah, our time has come to an end, so I will be passing this along. Okay, so here we have the Meraki Tarot. Now this one does not come with a guidebook. It's got all of these little cards here that have just some keywords. It is a rose petal finish. It's edged in a matte green. This was a Kickstarter deck. Now this was the very first Kickstarter deck I backed. So I had no sort of experience and I didn't really know, Sylvie, come on, off you get, with how they worked and all that sort of thing. Now, if I had the knowledge I have now, I would not have backed this deck because I really love having a guidebook. Come on, babe. And obviously this does not have one. So that's already the downside. And to be honest, the imagery didn't really work out how I thought it was going to look. It's really like computery. Do you know what I mean? It's got that sort of AI indie. It just doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't look polished in a way. It's sort of not really excellent computer generated, but not really excellent hand-drawn. And I just don't know, I just don't like it. I don't like how the colors go. I don't like, yeah, like this one's okay, this one's great. There's sort of also like the difference between these two, for instance, they don't feel like they're very congruent. So there's not really like a thread of consistency in the deck. Like it's like this one, for instance, this just feels really out of place. Like that just doesn't look right. So yeah, and I just haven't connected to it at all. It was instant. I was like, no, I'm not feeling this whatsoever. I don't actually like it. So and I think the main reason that I backed this was because I love their Radiant Crystal Oracle deck, but it just, I don't like it. It looks better on camera than it does in real life to me. Like I said, I think it's just not for me. I like a guidebook. I will jive with different illustrations. I'm not really into these illustrations. This is great though. I love this one. Like there are some cards in here that I really, really love, but there's a lot that I just don't like. And yeah, I played with it and it didn't read well for me. I'm detached. There's a disconnect. So I am going to be rehoming this one. Okay, so next up we have the Delphi Oracle 5th edition. This has a rose petal finish. I'm not a big fan of this book. Just the way it's printed, it's not clear. So the printing isn't great. Like you can see there's like sort of shadowing. I don't know if that's coming through on the cards, but it's fuzzy. So you have to look at the table of contents because they're not in alphabetical order. And there's no numbers on the actual cards like there is here. So you do have to keep going to the table of contents. So you've got a bit of information about sort of the deity and then a tiny little bit here for the divination. There's some spreads in the back. I will tell you why I don't like it. So I do love the backs. I think the backs are pretty cool. The cardstock's fine. It's a satin sort of cardstock. So a big issue I have with this deck is that some of the artwork is just not, it doesn't go. Like this is all very similar, and then you'll see what I mean when I get to artwork that just sticks out. So some of these are great, and like in the book they have information about the artwork. See, for instance, this one, this is modern and computer generated. Same as this. Like you can see these ones now, put them together. They don't match the rest of the deck. They're just way too modern, like especially this one. There are really no sorts of, like I'm sure there are other paintings of Eris back in the day, but they've chosen to go with this image. Same here for Cerebus. So these ones just really stuck out like a sore thumb, like compared to all of the other artwork, which is very similar. So yeah, I didn't like some of the pick choices in this for the artwork, but besides that, I also just didn't love the write-ups at all. Like every time I try to read with it, it just didn't go with my readings. It's just not the Greek god deck for me, but I'm sure there's some Greek god deck out there that I would like. But yeah, like the big letdown for this was the guidebook. I didn't like the quality of it, and the write-ups just weren't phenomenal. And I just, yeah, was having, once again, this one doesn't really go. And some of them are really poor quality, like they're pixelated. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but what can you do? So I will be passing this along. Here we have the Endless Oracle by Eric Maley. So you've got a lot of information sort of about how the deck works, especially in terms of how you're supposed to like spread it together to form a picture or a scene. Lots of different spreads in here as well. And then you've got about the cards. So you'll have the name of the card, you've got keywords, about the card, in the sky, because each sky has a different like constellation or theme, creative notes, and then the creator does talk about why they've chosen that imagery. So that is the guidebook. This is a box. So this was a Kickstarter deck as well. So the box is lovely. It's good quality. The cards are a satin finish. So like I said, good quality. Now for me, I bought this deck because I did see Boho Tarot, the run through of it, and it convinced me. If I hadn't seen that video, I would not have bought it, because this sort of dark blue scenery and sort of the style isn't for me. It does feel a bit like fantasy sort of illustration, so that I do like about it, but I just didn't really see how I would use it, and I thought I could, and I followed Boho Tarot's like explanation of how to use the deck, and I've been doing that, but I just don't enjoy it. I think this is what it is. I just don't find it fun. And the readings sometimes just don't connect to me. And even when I do like more than, like single card spreads don't work at all for some reason. But even when I do the 3 together, because you are really meant to do multiples together, even in the guidebook it says like when it's before or after this or that, it means this. Yeah, it's not working for me. So as lovely as it is, like I do appreciate, like I said, the quality of it. I do appreciate the theme and the intention, but for me, it just doesn't fit in my practice. And yeah, like I said, at the moment, I am very, very harsh with what I keep. In another world where I have space, I would have kept it. But for now, it's like, if I'm not head over heels in love with it and absolutely obsessed and can't wait to use it every day, then I have to pass it on. Okie dokie, let's move on to the new decks that I got this month. And I'm going to start with this one that came in this rainbow bag. I did not make this, it came in it, and I love it. I love this bag. So this one is the Free Your Chakras. They have different backs depending on which chakra it is. So I think that's pretty cool. And they're printed on this awesome, like super awesome environmental, whatchamacallit, paper. So the aesthetic wise, I love the backs. The fronts though are a little boring. It's that standard like name tag sticker, and you've got the chakra it is, whether it's overactive, balanced or underactive, and then there'll be a statement there. And so each chakra has its corresponding color, which is great. But yeah, I don't love the name tag sort of style, but there are so many cards, which is fantastic. So I love it. The more cards, the merrier. But yeah, and I have been using it every day, just to check into my chakras, chakra checkup, and I have been enjoying it. Like I said, there's no guidebook, so you would sort of have to have a bit of a common knowledge about chakras, like a basic understanding of chakras. Otherwise, you could just Google if you want to find out more about the solar plexus chakra. But I have found it pretty accurate. It does call you out, obviously, sometimes, especially when it's a statement like that. It can be full on. It's a bit shadow worky in that aspect, but I have really enjoyed working with it. And at the moment, it definitely has a place in my practice. Next up, we have the Earthly Souls and Spirits Oracle by Terry Floss. So this is the guidebook. This was an indie deck, I think, now it's mass market. So you've got a full black and white picture with the keyword and a sentence, some more keywords up here, an expansion and an intention. So I think this is really great. It's well written. I like the entries in this. These are the backs. Just got some moon phases, which is pretty cool. I've edged mine in a magenta purple. I felt like doing something fun. I love the cardstock for this. It's a very smooth, sort of semi-glossy cardstock, but it's wonderful to shuffle, really great to shuffle. I love the imagery in this. I'm into all of these little witches and their familiars. It's got a very whimsical, magical, starry night vibe. Look at those butterfly wings. I love the keywords. Some are very typical that you sort of get with a lot of oracles, and some are slightly different. But like I said, this guidebook is great. I love reading the expansions upon the keywords in there. Some of the artwork can feel repetitive. I will say that, but I love it though, so it doesn't matter if it's repetitive. Look at that owl. Because I enjoy this style. But I have had a great time with this. I connected immediately to it. It reads so well for me, and I adore the colorscape. I think it's fantastic, and it will 100% be staying in my collection. Next up, we have the Soul Practice Oracle cards by Bronwyn Garland. This came in a tuck box, and you know how I feel about tuck boxes. I don't like them. I don't like them one bit. So this is the guidebook. It is full color, and to be honest, it's a bit superfluous. There's not a lot more in the guidebook. This will say, like, sun gaze, immerse yourself in the energy of the sun. And that's all it says, like, as the sun rises and sets, go and look at the sun. So to be honest, this doesn't really add a lot at all to it, but that's fine. I'm not a fan of the backs. I haven't edged mine. I decided not to because it's so white. The cardstock is a matte, and it's super flexible, and it's easy to shuffle. The front of the cards is very minimalistic. It's a very minimal sort of thing, and you've just got a geometric shape with a background you've got the element, so it's got the different elements at the front. You've got like what the action is, and then a little sort of quote phrase expression of how to do it. So I really like it. I didn't think I would keep it at first. I will admit that. I thought for sure that I didn't have room for another self-care deck in my life, but this one's a little bit different to the other one I have by Chill Pile. And I really like it. I like the white space. It's got like an inherent calmness to it. Some of the self-care sort of activities, I don't know, like I don't care for. There's a few weird ones, but like I love this one, mindful eating. Look up at the clouds, cloud gaze, like just stuff like that. It's cute. It's ones I do. Once again, it has to be something that I'm going to be interested in doing. There's like a few that maybe aren't. Imbuing, I don't know, wonder if this one is what I think it is. So I would think that this is how water captures vibration. So what you say to water changes the molecular structure of water, and saying positive things to it induce positive results. Take 1 liter of water, it is, isn't it? And place a sticker on there with words like love, yes. So I think it was Masamoto, I can't remember who did that water study. But yeah, like that's what I mean. You can sort of guess what it is without the guidebook. So the guidebook is a bit pointless. But yeah, I actually really enjoy this. I really didn't think I was going to keep it. And then it read really well. Like whatever it picked, I actually really resonated with it. I'm like, actually that I think that really would benefit me at this point in time. So I would be keeping this in my collection. Next up, we have Witch Cats. Just grabs this out of the box by Nicole Pyer. So this was a Kickstarter deck. I've edged mine in purple. Purple seems to be a popular color for me. The cards are square, and they're a lovely matte satin. The problem is that it's pretty hard to shuffle. I don't know how other people shuffle square cards, but I find it a bit difficult personally. And I like to keep them all upright. I don't like it if they get turned upside down. So you have the card. I love, adore, and besotted with this artwork. This is why I bought the deck. Like, all of the purpose of me buying this deck was just so I could gaze upon these pretty pictures. I love it. So on the cards, you've got, the front is the cat, and on the back, you've got like a keyword, and then the name of the cat, and sort of like a little story. So like, I don't really use this in a divinatory manner. I use it more as just like a nice, loving message for the day, because there's a sweetness. Oops, that one. Who's that guy? This is this chick, Tatiana. I love that they're all named. That really makes me happy. I love it. But yeah, so it's just something that I pull when I feel like having a nice message, when I want to stare at a pretty kitty, and it just makes me happy. It's just one of those like inner child decks for me. Like it really speaks to my inner kid and the cat lover. I am a cat lady. My kids love it as well. It's just a very friendly, easy on the eyes, sweet deck. And I will be 100% keeping this. Then we have Wild Child Oracle cards by Nawan Johasiri and Nat Affinpongchacharon. I don't know how to say these names, sorry guys. So this is the, I'll just leave this for now. This is the guidebook. It is a rose petal finish guidebook. It is very smooth, glossy pages, and it's in color. So these cards are also in Roman numerals, so you have to look it up by Roman numeral. And you'll have a full picture of the card, and then you have a little poem. So this is translated, I think, from Thai, and sometimes there are sort of like grammatical errors, or it doesn't quite make sense how they've structured the sentence. These are the cards. So these are the backs, which are really pretty soft pastel watercolors, and they've edged them in a matte dark gray, which it's a choice. I don't think it's the right choice, but it's a choice. There's also a strong scent to these. I'm sensitive to smell and I can smell them. So these are oval shaped. These are also hard to shuffle. They just slip and slide. Some other people who have bigger hands might have better hope of shuffling these well, but I don't shuffle them well. So these ones are so freaking pretty. I love the artwork and the illustration style. I love the colors that are in this. I like the keywords. I think they're awesome. For me, it really is more on an intuitive deck, because some of the poems just, I don't know, they just don't do it for me. And you're probably thinking, are you going to keep it? Because I know I mostly get decks for the guidebook and get it for the guidebook. I don't know. So this is going into my need to work with it more section, because like I said, it did just come. Because I'm not really into the guidebook, I have to figure out, am I actually going to use it if I'm going to just be using it intuitively? It's so even so hard to pick them up. But I don't know, I don't want to say goodbye to it yet. So because I love the artwork so much, and I love the rose petal finish feel on it. I am a sucker for a rose petal. The shape is cool. It's hard to shuffle. Oh, I love that. But it is really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in my keep for now area, because like I said, I just don't want to say goodbye to the artwork yet, because it's so pretty and I haven't used it a lot. But it might be a deck that I sort of, once I've used it a lot, I'll be like, all right, it's time to pass it on. It might not be here forever, but it's here for now. Now we have the Lily White Tarot. So I got the pocket size deck, and I purchased the guidebook separately. So it's in French and English. This one side is English. It is glossy paper. It's a fantastic guidebook. Like, kudos. You've done it. You've done a great job, guys. It shows the lily white, and also shows is it lily black? But they're sort of opposite deck. You've got the name of the card, what it is in the Tarot of Marseille. You've got a quote. I love things that have quotes. I love quotes. I'm such a quote junkie. You've got keywords, and then you've got a massive section sort of about the cards, so sort of about the illustration, but also about, you know, the Fool, and then the dark side, so the reversed meaning. And then it's structured by the number. So that's child. I'll go to a number. So all the sevens are here. So it's got the overall meaning of the 7 card, but then you've got the 7 of Pentacles here with the keywords and then description. 7 of Swords, keywords, description, with, like, once again, both photos, and then the other 4 on this side. So it is structured a little differently, but I actually don't mind that. I don't mind having all the numbers grouped together rather than all the quartz. It's fine. This is a box. It's a magnetic closure. So the pocket tarot does come with its own little mini cards. So you've got like a few keywords on the card, so you don't have to have the book. It's got lovely gold foiling on the back. They are tiny. This is the tiniest deck I own. The cardstock is a matte cardstock. It's flexible. These shuffle really well, even though, like, I do find, because they're small and thick, sometimes they can, like, get away from you. Do you know what I mean? Flip, 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 Adelphia. So I'm going to turn it around so you can look at the art style. So a lot of the cards I find really pretty, and then some don't do it for me at all. It's like, Jesus. So yeah, am I keeping it? I'm not sure. Does it read well? Yes. Look, sometimes it's also hard to see what it is. So you've got the thing at the top sometimes, or at the bottom, depending, and it can be a little hard to see, like, that's a 6 of Cups, because I'm not going to sit there and count those cups. So like I said, it's got Roman numerals for the Mage Artist. Can't stand no Roman numerals. And this one I'm always like, so is this the king? But it's not. So if it's headless, this is the knight, the Knight of Swords. And that's what I mean. then you're like, wait, is this the Queen of Swords? I don't know, bro. It could be. I think so. I think the page, they've done children in this. Like I said, I haven't worked with it enough to remember off by heart what signifies what. I'm guessing that's a knight. I don't know. I think it's a knight. Let's have a look. I'm saying I don't know, and I've got the book right here. So, okay, so the pages are little babies, little children. And then the knights are headless bodies. So I was right about that one. And then the queens are female faces. Yeah, and the kings are faces. Okay, so we figured that out. So, yeah, I'm thinking I might pass it on. I don't feel the need to have a lot of tarot decks. I'm happy to have a lot of oracle, but tarot, I don't feel like I need that many. I'm happy just to have, like, you know, 15 tarot decks and cycle between them. So for this one, like I said, I like most of the art style, but some of it, I don't know, it's nothing like super interesting. It's a bit pippish. You know what I mean? Like, let's read, like, and I don't like super pippish deck. This is the cute lovers, trees intertwining. So I'm not really into super pippish decks, and I guess it's more of an animal deck. I don't like the faces of the dudes. Not for me. So, you know what? I think I am going to rehome this. This one's not for me. I do love that card, though. That's gorgeous. So those were all of the decks that I got this month. Going forward, I'm trying to have a low buy year. I've decided that next year is going to be a low buy year. This was the year I got into tarot, and I went on a accumulating frenzy where I just wanted to obtain every deck known to man and sort of figure out what do I like, what don't I like, and now I have a much better sense of that. That being said, I do have some pre-orders that I still haven't received, so that's from Kickstarter, and that is from places like, you know, the Book Depository, Booktopia, all that sort of thing. I did pre-order decks, and they will be arriving next year, so I'm already going to be getting quite a few decks next year. But I am, trying to cut back because I'm almost at that point where it's going to be one deck in, one deck out. And because I've pared down my collection, I've curated it already to pretty much ones that I love. There's not a lot of leeway for me to want to give any of those up. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to do a low buy year. For me, what does that mean? It means I'm not going to purchase anything that I am not frothing over. This year I've been giving everything a go, like, oh yeah, that looks decent, or other people's opinions be like, oh, this is great. I'm like, yeah, I will, but I know what art I like. I know that I like a guidebook with it. You know, I've got sort of ideas of what I fancy, and if something doesn't fit in that, and I don't have that sort of tingling feeling like, oh, this deck is meant for me, then I'm just going to leave it for that, especially if it's mass market, like 100%. I'll be like, I'll wait until the next year, and if I still want it next year, I'll get it. But, you know, I know that might be harder for indie decks. I have seen that Kickstarter decks pretty much always end up going for sale after the Kickstarter. The creators seem to have excess stock, and they'll make a website or an Etsy listing. So that sort of fear of missing out with Kickstarter isn't really there, because I'm like, I'd rather wait to see someone's review. That's another thing. I'm not going to be pre-ordering anymore unless it's from a creator that I already adore and I'm very sure about it. I would rather wait. Let someone else review it first. Let's see what it's like. And then if I think it's fantastic, go ahead. So I'm not giving myself a number. I think that's just setting you up to fail, because if I say, you know, I'm only going to purchase 12 decks next year, I might end up purchasing 20 and then I'll feel awful. I'll feel like I failed. Or I'll have purchased like 8 and think, well, I allow myself 12, and then try and find 4 more decks, you know, to buy, which I wouldn't have otherwise bought if I didn't feel the need to like go up to that number. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'm not going to put a number on it, but yeah, it's going to be an absolute drop in the ocean compared to how many decks I bought and then rehomed this year. But this was a learning experience. It was a learning curve. It was a learning curve, and now I'm sort of wiser for it, and excited to choose with more intention and work with more depth with the decks that I have. But that's the end of this year's my favorites of the month. I hope that wherever you are having a wonderful end of the year. And as always, stay wild, Star Child.